everyone, and welcome to YCamp. It's Marissa, and today we're filming here at beautiful YMCA Cedar Glen Outdoor Center, located in Schaumburg, Ontario. Today we are going to be learning about how to use a compass. So in order to participate along with me, that's all you'll need, just a compass for today, so super easy. Before we get started, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the land we're on. We recognize that YMCA Cedar Glen is situated on the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples that lived and still live around the Great Lakes Basin. This parcel of land is part of European Treaty Number 13, also known as the Toronto Purchase. We recognize it is also under the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Treaty, which was created by distinct Indigenous nations living around the Great Lakes to peaceably share and care for the land and its resources. So one of the first things we'll do is talk about how and why a compass works. So a compass works because it has a needle in the middle that always points north, and from there you can find your way. So the reason the compass arrow points north is because it's magnetic, and the Earth is magnetic, and the North Pole is magnetic. And so the North Pole pulls that arrow, so it always points north. What's interesting to note though, and we'll build on this concept next week as we learn a little bit more about maps and compasses together, is that there's a difference between geographic north and magnetic north. So pretend that this little basketball, it's a very small one, is a globe or represents the Earth. Where on this globe would you put the North Pole if you had to point to it? Probably most of you campers would have put it right here, right on the top. And that's because we've all watched so many movies about Santa Claus, we know that the North Pole is right up here. And that's true. Geographic north is right on the top of the globe. Or if you're looking at a map, like we did last week, it's right on the top of the map. That's the way we draw maps. That's the way we often think of the North Pole. That's again called geographic north. However, magnetic north is different. So inside the Earth, as many of you campers probably know, there's all kinds of molten rocks and lava and magma. And inside of that is a lot of different types of minerals. And one of those minerals is iron. And iron is magnetic. So that iron and everything in the Earth's core has made a magnetic field at the top of the Earth. But that magnetic field doesn't always line up exactly with geographic north. It actually moves. So it can move between 10 and 30 kilometers per year, which is crazy. And currently, if you were looking at this globe and Canada was right here, and the North Pole was right here, or geographic north was right here, the North Pole is actually moving, the magnetic North Pole is moving over this way towards Russia. So it's moving a little bit southwest every year. It's actually sped up in recent years, which is really fascinating. Maybe you can get an adult to help you learn more about that by looking it up on the internet. But the importance between geographic and magnetic north, I wanted to introduce today so you can get used to it, because next video will really need to be comfortable with that topic. Okay? So now we're going to learn about the 4 main parts of a compass that you'll have to be familiar with in order to learn how to use that compass well. So your compass that you're using is probably about this size, just like mine, but I have this lovely model that I'm going to use to make it much easier for you to see and understand all the different parts that I'm talking about. So the first part that's very important is the base plate, and that's the biggest part. It's this big rectangular piece that is sort of the bottom of the compass right here. On the base plate, you'll need to find where your compass has its direction of travel, arrow or arrows. So for example, this one has 2. But this one only has 1. It doesn't matter which your compass has 2 or 1, as long as you know where they are. The next thing you'll need to know about is the housing. And that's this part that spins. On my real compass, it's right here. Okay? And you'll notice that the housing has all kinds of numbers around the outside. 360 numbers to be exact. So you may have learned in school already that circles have 360 degrees inside of them. Every circle does. So the same is true when we talk about north, south, east, and west. There are 360 degrees in that circle, and you can see them on the housing. So you'll see that north is here right now. I have it turned to the top so you can see it well. East is here at about 90 degrees, south at 180, and west over on this side at 270 degrees. So get comfortable with that. The next part is the compass arrow. Again, this is just a plastic model, so my compass arrow is not actually pointing north right now. And as you can see, I'm spinning it around. It should have 2 sides. You want to find the red side. That's the side that's always going to point north. The other side might be white or it might be black. Some compasses are different. It doesn't matter. But you want to look for the red side. That's the side that's going to point north for you. And it's important that you know which side of the arrow in your compass is going to point north. The last thing you need to find, it's on the base of the housing, is this red arrow inside the housing. You can see it right there. And that's called the shed. It probably has an official name, but I always call it the little red shed. And that's very important when you're learning how to compass orienteer. You need to be able to find the red shed because we always want to keep red in the shed. So make sure you're really comfortable with those 4 parts of the compass. Again, the base plate with the direction of travel arrows, the housing, the part that turns, the arrow or the compass arrow in the middle, and the little red shed in the middle of the housing. Those are the 4 things you need to be really good at finding and using on your compass. So now that you know the different parts of the compass, I'm going to show you how to use it. The first thing we're going to do is learn how to find north. So when you're using a compass, you have to hold it flat for it to work. A compass won't work if you hold it up like this. The arrow will just get stuck. Right now the arrow is pointing down, and I know that north is not down. So what I want to do is lay the compass flat on my palm, in front of my stomach or maybe my rib cage, either or, and let the arrow settle. It might spin a little bit or wiggle for a little while, but once it's still, you know that it's pointing north. So I want to look at the red half of my arrow, remember, and see which direction it's pointing. So for me, that's back that way, right about like there. That's north for me right now. If that's north, it means I'm facing pretty much due west right now with you at the camera. South is that way, and east is behind me. So that's the first challenge with the compass, is hold it flat on your palm and figure out which way is north. On top of holding it flat, you'll also want to make sure you're in an outdoor area. Compasses don't tend to work well inside houses because we have all kinds of things in there that are made of metal or might be magnetic. That would confuse your compass. So make sure, just like me, you're enjoying the outdoors, maybe in your backyard or a local park. And the first challenge is to find which way is north in your neighborhood. Once you're familiar with which way is north in your neighborhood, and from there you should be able to figure out south because it's opposite, and east and west as well. Now we'll start to use this housing and to learn about compass bearings or different directions of travel within the compass. So my first challenge to you is to turn your compass housing to 320, let's say. You can pick any number, but right now we'll pick 320. So you can see that near your direction of travel arrow, there should be a little mark that goes right through the edge of the housing. So that's where you want to take your reading. So for me, I would turn this compass, I don't know if you can see the numbers, but until 320 lines up with this mark or with the direction of travel arrow, whichever way it is on your compass. Okay? So that's exactly what I've got happening with my own little compass here. The next step, remember, as I'm sure you do, is to lay that compass flat on your palm and wait for that arrow to settle, to stop spinning around. Now, remember when I said red in the shed was our important little rhyme or thing we needed to remember today? So what you're going to do now, you don't move your hand, you don't move your compass. The direction of travel arrow is pointing straight out. I've got my compass down like this, so the direction of travel arrow is actually pointing straight at you guys right now in the video, straight in front of you. I'm going to let that arrow settle and rotate my body without moving my feet really. I'm kind of just spinning on one spot until the red arrow is in the red shed. So until your compass looks exactly like this. 320 lined up in the middle, red arrow lined up over the red shed. Okay, remember I'm not moving my compass, I'm moving my body. So starting from here, turning to 320, holding that compass flat and turning until red lines up in the shed. Now, if I needed to know which way 320 degrees was, I just found it. Using my direction of travel arrow with red lined up over the shed, I know that way for me, because that's the way my direction of travel arrow is pointing, is 320 degrees. So that's how you find a compass bearing. So do a few different ones and test out your skills. So start with 320 like I just did, then maybe try 100 or 150, any number you want, but do a few of them until you get comfortable turning that housing, holding it flat, and then turning your body until red lines up with the shed. That's how you find a compass bearing. Now that you've tried a few different compass bearings and you're getting comfortable, I want to tell you about how you would follow a compass bearing. I'm here at this beautiful place today by myself, so I will do my best to explain to you without the help of a partner. One thing that works really well for me, so let's say I wanted to follow the compass bearing 320. So I remember I'm going to hold it flat, turn my body till red is in the shed. Now I know 320 is that way. If I just start walking and following my compass, chances are I'm going to veer this way, or the wiggling of me walking is going to cause that compass arrow to get caught or to spin. So what you want to do is take a landmark. So again, just finding 320, and I'm going to look down that direction of travel arrow, and I'm going to find something that's exactly in line with that. If you're by yourself, that's called landmarking. So I'm looking in front of me and taking a landmark, and I can see, actually I'm right near our pool, I can see it's actually the lifeguard chair. So what I would do then is put my compass down, walk to the lifeguard chair, take my bearing again, 320, take my next landmark, walk to it, take my bearing, and go from there. So that's how you can do it if you're on your own. If you have a partner, you can do something that's called leapfrogging. It's actually really fun. So it looks very much the same. I start by finding my compass bearing. I'm still at 320. And I would send my partner out to walk in front of me, and I'd say, stop, maybe when they're 50 meters away or 20 meters away. And I would direct them, move a little left, move a little right, until they're right exactly lined up with my compass bearing. Then I would walk to them, retake my compass bearing, and go from there. So that's a way to do if you're working with a partner, or maybe you're in the middle of a really big field and there's no landmarks, or you're in a really dense forest and honestly every tree looks pretty much the same. Working with a partner in that case is really good. Thanks for joining me on YCamp today. Make sure you come back next week when we take everything we learned about compasses, everything we learned in our last video about maps, and put them together. That'll be really fun. If you are enjoying YCamp, be sure to subscribe online, and please consider making a small donation to support your local YMCA summer camp. If you would like to work towards earning your virtual YCamp certification, go to ymcahome.ca/YCamp and tell us about how you did with this activity. We hope you had fun learning about compasses and how to follow bearings, how to landmark, and how to leapfrog. And we hope you have fun practicing that in your neighborhood as well. I hope you have an amazing day and can't wait to see you next time.